going on, folks? Welcome to another new exciting episode of Homeboy Talk, podcast of the Immortals. My name is Deon Donovan from Title Page Comics, and this is my co-host.
ORRION Online. That's right, Orion Online. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And we're here for another round of Homeboy Talk. Let's make some moves.
Let's get at it, folks.
Welcome to Earth 2020. Nah, I'm fucking with you. Well, you know what? We're gonna do a little fantasy topic here. You know, kind of speculations, if you will. But lately, there's been news floating around that DC is making some ballsy ass moves. You know, and Marvel is also making some questionable moves, but yet it's profitable on their end. You know, but whereas DC, they're just, it felt like they went straight rogue.
Yeah. DC has been on fire this year. They fired a whole bunch of people, fired a whole lot of their employees, and they dropped Diamond Distribution, which was pretty much a staple of how they get their comics to the comic book stores. They went with another company. It's kind of not working. We have AT&T and Warner combining and getting the DC Comics properties, and so this year has been kind of a year in transition for DC Comics, and it's looking like they're about to basically abandon comic book shops and abandon comic book conventions. Now this is the rumors and speculations, and this has been rumored for years now, how the comic book industry is gonna die and the comic book industry is dead. Manga is taking over, and you know there's stats that prove that and there's stats that disprove that. It varies monthly, but for the most part, it's looking like DC is taking more steps than Marvel to kind of exit out of the comic book realm and focus on branding outside of comic book medium. So we're gonna do an alternative reality here. Thanos snapped, and DC Comics was no longer in your comic book store, no longer attending San Diego Comic Con or any other comic convention. DC Comics has abandoned the comic book form as a viable outlet for their characters. In this reality, what moves do you think DC would make to make up for that, or to expand on what they're currently doing?
Only few outlets are available for DC superheroes, you know, and I only mean a few, especially when you go ahead and remove the comic outlet or any forms of comic form, you know, like you executed the distribution of comic books and you stop going to conventions to appeal to the fans. So the only outlets you would have is TV, movies, and games, you know. Honestly, can't think of anything else unless they want to go and take DC to Japan and make manga, you know. But
Hey, when all this fails, join Manga.
I mean, why not, man? Like shit, Wonder Woman cross Sailor Moon. It works, you know. But yeah, what happens, you know, if DC? Well, you know what? We're in an alternate realm right now. You know, this is Earth 2020/B. You know, so this is the world that we're living in. That DC has just went rogue. They said, all right, we're going to take our current IPs and we're going to turn them to straight TV, movie, and games. Now, what if, to keep afloat? Now, just speculations. Not saying this is going to happen. We can just play speculations all day. So you're welcome to play speculations with us in the comment section below. But what if DC said, all right, to keep afloat, we're going to go ahead and sign exclusive rights to Microsoft to develop to let our IPs only be used in the Xbox world.
Ooh.
You know, what if DC were to sit there and says, let's use our platform, the TV platform, streaming services and all that stuff like that. Let's go ahead and sign an exclusive deal with HBO Max because the Snyder Cut went straight to HBO.
Yeah, they have that relationship with AT&T and Time Warner.
Mm-hmm. And for movie rights and stuff like that, you know, that's Warner Brothers stuff, you know. It stays with the Warner Brothers. That doesn't change and stuff like that. But let's say they X'd out all illustrated mediums and went straight only production mediums, you know. Now Marvel, I don't think they have that much of a struggle. But what if they were to sit there and say, okay, you want to play that game? Then what if we were to do the same thing? Because Marvel's already in Disney Plus, so they got that captured. Marvel's already their own studio, but under supervision of Disney, of course, and with of course close relations with Sony, you know. And since you already have that, Marvel said, okay, you want to go to Microsoft. Marvel is like, all right, we'll go with Sony and stick with the PlayStation world, and all our IPs can only be used in the PlayStation world. Imagine that civil war.
That would be pretty interesting, man. That would be, so you would say goodbye to Marvel vs. Capcom. That would turn into exclusive. You know what I'm saying? Injustice would turn into an Xbox exclusive. So the Arkham games would turn into an Xbox exclusive. So now that'd be very highly competitive, because as it currently stands, to be honest with you, overall, it's a better deal for Microsoft. Overall, if you look at what NetherRealm Studios has done, if you look at the Batman games, the whole overall package of DC gaming right now is stronger than Marvel. Marvel has Spider-Man, and that's about it. And I mean, they had Ultimate Alliance 3 for the Switch, which was a fun little title, and it had 2 seasons of DLC, whatever. But you know, it didn't turn any heads. It didn't really make a huge impact. And the Avengers game from Square Enix was supposed to do that, and it failed miserably. And so, honestly, that Marvel would probably be in better hands. So you know what? Fuck it. We don't got our shit together. For whatever the last 5 to 10 years, we used to be able to make games consistently and make them good. We used to lend it out to Capcom. We used to lend it out to make, you know, the Incredible Hulk game back on PS2, you know, and all these other things. Now, fuck it. We can't make games anymore. Let's just stick with Sony Studios. Sony is directly responsible for making our games with the same quality they do with the Spider-Man games. And then, so they'd have great potential, but Microsoft would have the bigger win right now because they have a better game library with this current gen, and they would be possibly looking stronger for the next gen as well, because Sony would have a lot of work to make up for that last Avengers game. And I think, speaking of it in just gameplay point of view, we want an open world Superman game, right? Done correctly. Finally, right? I mean, we've had a taste of Gotham. What would be cool would be like a Green Lantern game where you have about 10 planets, like Mass Effect. Can you imagine Green Lantern treated like the Mass Effect by Bethesda, which they could do because Microsoft has a deal with Bethesda. So if they were to do a Green Lantern trilogy of games like Bethesda does with Mass Effect, that would be hella crazy, man. Traveling different galaxies, different planets. The RPG element of your ring. Okay, your willpower is level 3. You can only use the ring for certain moves, and then you potentially progress. Oh, you want to be alien? Well, only this alien can be a Yellow Lantern or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And like, okay, so you expand past the Green Lantern. You do all the different rings, and they all have their own different power sets with them. That would be really dope, man. And you make it nice, cinematic. Create your own lantern. You meet the other lanterns. Dude, you meet the lantern gods and shit like that. That would be a really dope game. DC has, can you imagine playing as, like, get into the Watchmen universe where you play as Rorschach for one mission, and then the next mission you're the comedian in Vietnam, like replaying these kind of scenarios. So I think DC overall, not to have a notch on, I guess, on the Marvel games, but I think DC would deliver better gameplay experiences than Marvel. I think Marvel has Spidey, and I think a Thor game would be kind of cool, but Cap, Hulk, we already had a great, phenomenal Hulk game back in the day, but for some reason, I think DC's characters would, like a Flash, would be like a Sonic title, or how fast you go, or racing, or something like that, I think DC has better gameplay, would have a better gameplay experiences and have better exclusive titles than Marvel going with Sony. But well, what do you think?
Yeah, bro, with DC being exclusive to Microsoft and all those studios available with Bethesda and all those acquired studios that they also have along with it, if they were to find somebody that could replicate Spider-Man gameplay for Batman again, because Insomniac worked on Batman, but then they moved over to work with Spider-Man. So if they could find somebody to replicate that same engine to make another Batman game exclusive for the Xbox, it could save grace. I saw that, you know, there's 2 games out there. You got another Gotham Batman game featuring Robin and Batgirl. Then you got another one, the Suicide Squad. You know, that's so I think that's also supposed to be like their version of the Avengers from Square Enix, I guess.
Yeah, something like that.
So this is speculations. I really haven't really looked into it. I probably should have done more research on it, but I'm just speculating here. Now, and like I said, you know, taking Flash and making like a Sonic type game or something like that, or if anything else, because of the SSD and stuff like that, you're talking about you can jump to dimensions quickly. You know, I mean, you could really imagine using Flash as a selling point of selling the Xbox. It's like, look at our character Flash, how he's able to jump to this dimension and this dimension in less than a second, just like our SSD built into our console. You know.
Yeah, and it's actually fully explorable.
Fully explorable. You know, same thing with, you know, Green Lantern. Imagine being Green Lantern, jumping from one planet to another planet, fully loaded planet. No load times, no loading anything else. You're coming from Earth and jumping to a whole nother planet. No load times, and you're able to explode that whole entire planet. No, you know, and then you have a plethora of Green Lanterns, all of the lanterns along with you as teams, you know. Or, you know, you can go straight rogue and you got all of the Gotham villains and stuff like that and do a straight up, I don't know, mayhem, Grand Theft Auto type open world games. Right. Where you cause chaos all fucking day. You know, blow up buildings, destroy cars, rob from the riches.
There was some meme mentioned, like, what if you played a Gotham villain at Grand Theft Auto style, and when it gets to 5-6 stars, Batman actually comes for you. Yeah. Like, a dynamic like that would be really sick, man.
Perfect. You know, you got the Gotham Police and Batman, like, you know, comes after your ass, you know, and we'll try to get rid of you. And if Batman, if you're able to somehow have the best weapons in the world to take out Batman, then you got Robin, then you got Batgirl coming in after you.
Every star like gets you a Bat family member. Yep.
Yeah, you got that. Unless you're able to go ahead and destroy the Batcave in the mansion. Then you can do what the fuck you want, you know, you know, an open world Superman game, you know, done with the same spirit of how Spider-Man is like, except without the spider webs technique, you're able to fly. And what way to push the SSD and the hardware that's in the Xbox, but with the IP of Superman to push the limits, to get to point A to point B, no load times as Superman. Quick, like, you know, faster than speeding bullet.
A real-time destruction of the city, and it actually takes time to repair. Like, the details of everything falling, the debris falling, like, your battles take real ramifications. And it's like, you know, I mean, they can go as dark as whatever they want, but it's like, damn, I just destroyed half the city. And it's like, okay, it stays like that. The map doesn't just come back after a save. Like, what you do is permanent, and it takes time to rebuild. Like, I think stuff like that would be really cool, man.
To play double duty as Clark Kent and Superman,
or even like a battle royale game like Call of Duty with the Suicide Squad, where you have different class. You can be Deadshot, you can be Deathstroke, you know, you could be Harley Quinn, and it's like a battle royale. Everyone's going for something, right? And especially with DC's library of like those, you know, those C, D, and B lister like guys who just have guns and weapons. You know, you could be the Joker, and that's like you have to unlock the Joker, and the Joker has laughing gas, and it, you know, like all these kind of things would be really, really cool, man, to incorporate in gaming. Where I don't know why I'm a Marvel guy too. I don't know why my mind's going blank on the Marvel side per se when it comes to like what games they can do, but I don't know, man. It's just flowing through me how DC would have a whole options of games where they could dominate in and have provide those AAA killer experiences on the Xbox where, you know, you're like, damn, I mean, it shit would be worth the price of admission. Easy.
I mean, shoot. There's another thought that popped in my head. If Microsoft was able to do an exclusive deal with Square Enix, it says take Wonder Woman, that's part of our IP, and do a Tomb Raider based Wonder Woman game. Sold. Yeah. You know, like, if this is my biggest gripe that I had a podcast discussion a while ago is why couldn't Microsoft acquire WB and work their ass off to get the DC IPs and everything else? There is money to be made with no effort by just ideas alone. Yeah. If you want Xbox to be the top selling system, I think DC superheroes is your saving grace because they're recognizable and it can get people that's not familiar with DC or just not a fan of DC to love the fuck out of that console and shit, you know? Because Marvel, in the Sony side, they kicking ass. You know, I'm speaking only on Spider-Man.
Yeah, only Spider-Man.
Only Spider-Man. The Avengers and shit like that, I can't say shit, you know? And everything else they've even tried, that was what, you know, even Iron Man VR, I never fuck with it, but I mean, there's not a lot of VR, you know, units out there to validate, you know, how well Marvel's doing on the Sony side. But I mean, they kind of like, it's almost like an idea they already took out of my mind already and made it to reality. Was this an Iron Man VR game, you know, which is pretty dope, you know. But, you know, like I said, now you got, imagine, because now you got X-Men that's a part of that Marvel world now, you know. So now what if Sony were to go ahead and take the X-Men universe, you know, take the mutants and stuff and go above and beyond with that, you know. Like they can have, it's almost like they can create, like, let's say I don't know about that Harry Potter game, if that's exclusive or if that's a multi-platform. But what if they were to do something like Harry Potter, do a full-on academy, and you created your own mutant to be a part of that academy?
Okay, yeah. Go through Charles Xavier's mansion and you get to a certain level, you become an X-Men, you get your uniform, and you go out on missions. Yeah.
Build yourself up to be a part of the X-Men academy.
Yeah, and then you play online with other X-Men characters, other people's X-Men creations, and then you're like, we're the X-Men D Squad, or, you know, you do your what do they call it? Guilds. Yeah. You create your own crews, so like Excalibur and X-Force, X Factor. Everyone creates their own little X team, and then you guys go out and do missions and shit like that. But you don't play as any signature X-Men. So everything's just kind of created. Yeah, create your own mutant.
You get issued the uniform. You can look as you want. The creation aspect alone as a mutant should be unlimited. Be any color you want. Look as many you want. Have as many arms as you want. Has many legs as you want. Have a tail, or horns. The creative aspect alone should be fucking should be crazy and be creative enough to be your own X-Men Academy character and stuff like that, you know. And yeah, there's cameos of other X-Men characters in there so you can meet up with, or, you know, like if you're not part of a guild, stuff like that, you can join a mission along with Logan, or you can go take on a mission with Cyclops, do a rescue mission at some jungle field, some shit like that.
All AI NPC.
Yeah. You know, but you're out there to train and stuff like that, and become a better mutant, a part of your X-Men Academy and stuff like that, and you take on missions by Professor Xavier, you know?
Like an apocalypse, you know what I'm saying? Or you got to protect the president of the White House, the mutant brotherhood's attacking them, or, you know, oh shit, here comes level 50 Magneto, he's hurling all this shit at us. It takes like a full guild team to defeat Magneto, like, Yeah, that would be pretty fucking ill, dude. That would be ill.
Like a Final Fantasy based RPG, Harry Potter element. Join the academy, build yourself up, and take on missions with Xavier, or join the guild and become another X Factor team.
Yeah, man, that'd be sick. Another thing that comes to mind with Marvel would be an Ant-Man game where you shrink, and it's like you basically have two worlds in one. Where you shrink, and then that's a whole world onto itself, and then you get to normal size, and that's a whole world to itself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that would be pretty dope too. Like, it'd be like Honey, I Shrink the Kids, but next gen. You know? I think that'd be really cool with the Ant-Man game, and I guess other aspects of the Marvel library. We'll keep it with space, like a Guardians of the Galaxy or open galaxy kind of game. You know what I'm saying? And make it multiplayer. And okay, I'm Star-Lord. Okay, you're Rocket Raccoon and Groot. Everyone has their class, and it's like you guys just go across the galaxy doing missions and shit and having bounties but you play as you play as the Guardians. You don't. There's no creative nothing like that. You legitimately play as the Guardians, and you level up your characters and you do missions and shit like that. I think that would be dope too. I think dope. You couldn't do it. I think Green Lantern would be more in depth because of the lantern rings and shit like that. But with the weapons and it'd be like maybe like a Gears of War meets Fortnite experience with the Guardians, something like that, like a Fortnite in space kind of gameplay maybe. But yeah, that'd be cool. Other than that, dude, I mean, besides the gaming, DC would definitely push for movies more, push for TV shows, streaming, toys. I don't think there would be a loss of quality because, to be honest with you, the comic book form, it's just to make new IPs. To a certain degree, they're basically pitches for scripts. They're pitches for storylines for the TV show. They're pitches for the movie, storylines for the movies. They're just it's like a think tank. It's just ideas for the future. And if a character hits, so guess what? We got a character we could put in the show now. A new character. We got a character we could put in the movie. So the comic book form, even though I love the comic books and it's a unique medium, in this context of them moving on from the comic book world, it would be basically like, okay, we're just missing on potential scripts. We could still have people write. We just don't have to pay artists. You know what I'm saying? Or we could just pay like, hey, your whole job is to potentially make new characters for our TV shows, or to potentially make new scripts for our TV shows. So you don't have this whole publishing and printing thousands and thousands of comics that don't sell anymore. You're just making the minimal amount for ideas to make later on to be adapted. But I honestly think that the gaming thing would be pretty cool. That would be pretty neat. And for DC to completely abandon the comic book medium in this reality, this alternate reality, Marvel would probably follow suit right after them. Marvel would follow suit, and we would start seeing gaming to be sort of a replacement. Well, I mean, it costs money to make games. It's cheaper to make a comic, but I think they would have better branding with a video game because it's more accessible to a lot more people. You download it from the store. More people are willing to spend $20 on a game than $4 on a 20-page comic. You know what I'm saying? So they could just retransfer all of that energy, put those, all those scripts and shit. That's DLC content. All those scripts, all those character ideas, that's NPCs in the game. That's you just transfer it to the game, or you transfer it to the TV show and see what hits. You know what I'm saying? They just put that energy towards something else that could be more profitable. And I think that would be probably the end. That would be the end of the comic book store. Image, Boom, IDW would not be able to carry the sales to keep the comic book stores afloat.
Well, let me ask you this. Cause how many times can you rewrite a character for comic books? How many times can you have different Earths? How many times can you have different realities? How many times can you have different dimensions? How many times can you rewrite and redraw and illustrate a character that's been known, like Superman, Batman, Robin, Red Hood, you know, all those characters, Wonder Woman, you know, how many times can you give Wonder Woman's different shades of colors? You know, how many times can Superman be white? How many times can Superman be black? How many times can you really do that? You know, I get it that comic book can make a blueprint for some of these characters, kind of like how Miles Morales exists in the Marvel world, stuff like that. We've known the scene that Spider-Man was a white college kid, you know, who, you know, that came into power and stuff like that, and it was his responsibility, and that's been going on for years until we got introduced to a black Spider-Man named Miles Morales, to now an alternate reality of a girl Spider-Man who is now Spider-Woman, Gwen Stacy, you know? And then you got other Spider-Women in there. Then you got a Spider-Verse, a cartoon pig Spider-Man, a dark noir Spider-Man, Spider-Man from 2099. You know, how many times can you rewrite a character, you know? How many times can you reboot a character, remaster, remake, redo? What do you like just, yeah, before it gets old. And I mean, what if the comic book industry is already at their last string? I said, we did all we can. We transformed the fuck out of this character as many times. We made it an alien. We made it a woman. We took we took Superman to now a Superwoman, and Superwoman to super alien, to super animal, super dog, you know, I don't know, Air Bud as Superman. Like, how many times can you really do that and stuff like that until you just exhaust all your elements? It's like, all right, well, you know what can we do now? Like, we made the blueprint. Our comic books is just collecting dust in comic book shops, sitting there not collecting anything else, until a Hollywood studio is bored and has a lot of money to sit there and just offload, you know, so, you know, their taxes don't hurt them that much. So it's like, well, where can we donate our money? I don't know. Movie production. What can we do? I don't know. Go to a comic book store and pick out some shit, and we'll turn it into a movie. You know? And those are the elements that we have left, you know? Because I get it. We have the indie scene that's also trying to come up with their own original character, stuff like that, you know? And you just mentioned other comic book companies out there. Boom Studios, IDW, you know? Archie's still around, you know? You got all these comic books out there, you know? Hell, man, like, you got Sonic, who's got other obscure storylines out there. So, like, where's our fucking Sonic versus Mega Man, like, you know, animation line and stuff like that, you know? That's been going on stuff. You know, you were to give us Batman versus Ninja Turtles, you know? Where's our Ghostbusters Ninja Turtles movie? Ain't out yet, you know? We're probably going to see a Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles shit, whatever, at some point in time in the future, if not Blast Ronin beats, stuff like that. But my thing is, back to the comic book, you know, back to the comic book companies or these known franchises, DC and Marvel, who exhausted all their revenues and just went straight media, TV, streaming, silver screen, and gaming and stuff like that, and fuck it, smartphone apps. You could, make it down Superman Tetris puzzle game, whatever the fuck retarded shit they want to do. But just looking at what could possibly happen and the avenues they're trying to exhaust and stuff. Like, yeah, man. Like, the only thing that I've seen that still survive is, like you mentioned before, is the manga world. You know, where some of that manga is able to transform to anime quick. Fast and hurry. Same thing with webtoons. It's also able to transform to a easy Netflix series that you can watch and stream right now, you know? So it's like, you know, it's these comic book companies that's got to compete with all these medium stuff like that. And Japan has been killing it left and right, you know? And maybe they need to go ahead and get cultured and possibly, I would like to see a manga adaptation of all these known properties, you know.
And there have been a few. They've done a Batman manga. Spider-Man had a manga. But these have been all like alternative takes. You want basically the definitive version of these characters in manga form. This isn't Elseworld Batman. This isn't Elseworld Spider-Man. This is the Batman, but in manga form. This is him. Day one, parents die, tragedy, and moving on, so forth from there. No other Elseworld. Like, this is the one book. You get one book and one continuity. No Elseworlds. This is that Batman book. Chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on and so forth. There is no Detective Comics, and then you have Batman. Like, no, there is just Batman. And there's no Detective Comics. It's just one line and one continuity. And that's a strength that a lot of people have pointed out with manga, is that it's easy to follow. You buy One Piece, chapter 1. You work your way up to chapter 500. That's simple as that. You don't have to say, oh, this character in the anime, he's really cool. Oh, he didn't really pop up in Detective Comics. He was actually in Batman 440 to 430. Like, oh, so I have to go and get, but that's Batman, right? Like, no, it's a different series of Batman. So it's convolution, man. There's, because there's so many versions, but it's also cool because we get those alternative versions as well. But I get what you're saying, man. I get how can you do so much after 50, almost 100 years, you've done it all. You know what I'm saying? And even us as a reader, we know, like, this isn't new, but it's good and we're enjoying it. But this has been said before. Superman has said that Superman, this is not the first time this character has been in a situation like this. It's just, it's kind of a refresher. We don't remember all the back 500 plus issues of Spider-Man. We might remember the last 50 to 100. You know what I'm saying? So it is sort of like, how much can you do before it just becomes like, okay, here we go again. And a lot of it is kind of like, okay, here we go again. What's so special about this one? Or it's like the strength. It has to have the strength of good writing and a good story. Even though it may not be new, it's just good quality, and that makes you want to say, okay, cool, I'm in. Here's my money. I'm into it. It's not different, but it's good. And, yeah, I mean, the comic book side of all this shit is very small. They make their money off merchandising. They make their money off the movies. They make their money off the TV shows. The actual comic book size, that day and age is done. It's gone. Like, a lot of things we're talking about is the past is in the past. Yeah. The day of the best-selling thing about Batman is the comic book has stopped since the first movie came out in '89. After that, it's the toys, it's the TV show, it's the movie, it's the merchandising. That's the best-selling thing about Batman. It's not the actual comic book anymore. So, like you said, it'd be closing up shop. It would be kind of sad, but we would have that. If they would still keep that back catalog accessible, maybe live on as a manga, start from scratch, and continue off from that, and maybe some short digital releases. Other than that, man, all that energy would be put towards possibly gaming, or possibly towards streaming, or more merchandising, more different ideas. So I think it would be sad, but it wouldn't die. Superman's not going to die because there's no more comic books of him. Batman is not going to die because, you know what I'm saying? Like, these properties are not just going to go dead because these stories aren't available in a comic book shop anymore. There's not any new stories. There's no more new stories being made. They're not going to just die because the medium died. They're going to live on in different mediums in different avenues.
To piggyback off what you said, these mediums are still going to be recognizable because the fact of the matter is Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, even characters from the Marvel world, Spider-Man, and Iron Man and Captain America and Thor and stuff like that. They're all bridges the gap of all generations, from the newest generations to our generations to the elder generations is recognizable because we've all grew up with those characters. You know, that's a legacy that Stan Lee has left behind. Almost like how Mickey Mouse is recognizable, just like Super Mario and Sonic are now recognizable. You know, it's those iconic brands and stuff like that. Sometimes a character doesn't even need an origin story to care. You know, we don't know where the fuck Mario came from. We just know, like, how the hell did you get to the Mushroom Kingdom in the first place? You didn't just appear. You know. So I mean, it's just a matter of fact that you're able to make it recognizable and you're able to branch out of it as much, like, you know, and do as much where it creates its own origin and stuff like that, you know, like how we talked about it, like from a different podcast, how I said Ryu is probably the only motherfucker I know that crossed over every game genres known to mankind by himself, you know. He says, wherever is a fight, I'm going. You know, Batman and Spider-Man is probably to each their own. As far as I know, man, like I said, with all these properties possibly leaving the paperback world and just going straight to mediums of media, TV shows, gaming, and movies and stuff like that, their legacy will still continue to live on. You know, however, it would like to see other outtakes of other things. You know, that's the reason I brought up manga. I says, you know, maybe we could see, because the Japanese has already taken to Western culture, especially with our superheroes. They love Spider-Man, you know. I mean, surprisingly, they apparently like our Power Rangers. Yeah. Did not know. You know, but they do. They like our Ninja Turtles. They like our Western property. And in fact, we've seen it before. We've seen redemptions of what is in Japanese culture. One funny fact was nobody has ever mentioned about the damn Ninja Turtles becoming actual superhumanoids. You know, true. You know. So I was like, I want to see Japanese imagination on the more Western properties, stuff like that. You know, so yeah, let's make an original Batman manga saga. You know. Give it the same energy as Goku had when his manga series, you know. Give the same energy to Spider-Man. You don't even need Peter Parker. You can take Spider-Man, you know. Take Spider-Man and give him his own arc again, you know. Right. It really expand it, you know. Right. Same thing with Thor and stuff like that, you know. And shit, cross and collaborate with the whole Jump series and stuff like that, you know. Fuck it, it'd be dope to see, you know. You want to go ninja, have Iron Fist hang out with Naruto. I don't know. You know?
Yeah, I mean, some of these stuff, I mean, you're making sense. Like, I would like to see the creators of Berserk try to make that Asgard mythology, you know what I'm saying? Or like, if, like you said, the makers of Naruto try to attempt to do, like, Iron Fist, or Ninja Turtle, or Daredevil, you know, or something with ninjas, the hand, you know? It's something about the Japanese, man. In terms of manga, in terms of anime, I mean, more women 30 and below read My Hero than an issue of Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? There's something to be said about that, where the Japanese do a superhero manga inspired by American superheroes, and the main character is a male, and it appeals more towards women than an American comic book featuring a woman lead as a superhero. I mean, that has to be said, man. I mean, that it's crazy the appeal that it has over than your typical American audience trying to read an American comic book. Yeah.
You're right, man. It's something to be said, because if you see the animations of Teen Titans, you see small little caveats borrowed from Japanese animations and stuff like that, due to the animation of the eyes and the emotions they share, stuff like that. Can you imagine that in manga form? You know, would it sell? You know, imagine it as an actual Japanese anime, animated by actual Japanese animation team, you know, an animation studio. Like, if it's already having a hard time surviving here in America and stuff like that, let's throw some money in Japan's pocket and see what they can do with some of these current IPs, stuff like that. I mean, like you just mentioned in My Hero Academia. You know, you got all those superheroes, which all, like I said, sampled from American Western heroes, stuff like that, is a hit. One Punch Man is a superhero, became a hit. You know, I mean, like, to gripe a little bit about Japanese culture a little bit too, because they're still stuck in their time, whereas here in the West they've always experimented with a character, well-known characters, stuff like that. For Fantastic Four, for example, stuff like that, how they try to do that with the movies. Well, Michael B. Jordan was the Flame. They experimented. They changed the nationalities, stuff like that. I feel like Japan should actually try to be a little bit more cultured, especially if they're now becoming more acceptable to more. They're like their curiosity for Western culture is actually expanded now, where now they're really wanting to know, like, I mean, look at the way their animations and their anime is now going towards. You know, Attack on Titan looks like a damn American cinematic film rather than actual something that's created from Japan. You know. And the fact of the matter is like the facial draw, the way they're drawing their characters, especially the way that I saw how Final Fantasy VII was looking. I said, oh, wait a minute now. These characters don't look all Japanese now. There's some American looking characters and stuff like that, or not. I wouldn't just say, you know, to anybody that's living in other countries like England and UK and stuff like that, expanded cultures. They're looking more European and Westernized, international. You know. So it's letting you guys know that in Japan they're experimenting, they're trying it out. So I was like, all right, so it won't be too long till we start seeing black main characters done by Japan. You know, I've always seen them as side characters, and they sometimes misrepresent us. You know, like we had this one joke going around talking about, look how they do us when it comes to create a character, and look at the black stereotypes of when it comes to creating your character. Do you see any black people's hair that actually represents us besides the damn afro and cornrow? You know? You know, but if you were to go ahead and create a character in a Western game and stuff like that, it's detailed to the T. And you can go Asian and stuff like that. The fact of the matter is, it's so crazy that American-made game, Ghost of Tsushima, followed everything to the Japanese T of Japanese tradition, you know that traditional style stuff, but that they paid attention to us. But when it comes to Japanese trying to paint a picture to how Westerners are like, we're painting off almost like clowns in a sense, you know?
Like, we're not seeing the Japanese game developers make like Red Dead Redemption, or nothing on that scale of level, right? Mm-hmm. So I get what you're saying, and I think the number one thing the argument was that what they're making is exclusively for the Japanese. Right. But now that their products are on an international stage, now that you have more Westerners interested in your product, now that your sales are, through the roof, not just in Japan, but in other countries, now you have to take a look back and say, our product isn't just for our country. Our product is now kind of for an international stage. And now we might have to change we might have to change how we write or think or feel about certain character types, because we are underneath a worldwide microscope. And we have someone who will buy our product, and they're okay with them not being represented in that product. But now if we do include them in that product, that might make them more susceptible to buying the next one or showcasing a friend. Hey, look at this. I mean, God, we celebrate any black character, any anime or manga. We're like, look here, there's a black guy in the manga. And it's like, so on one part, the appeal is that it's their culture and their way of life. On the other hand, it's like they're entering an international stage. So now that they're on an international stage, they could be a little bit more susceptible to more inclusion. and that might reflect even more sales than before, because, and I think a part of it is just America is just this big melting pot, and I think that there's a push to represent, every American that lives here. There's a push to make something like Kamala Khan happen with Miss Marvel, because like everything is default white guy when it comes to the medium here. It's like a conscious decision, like, oh fuck, there ain't no black guy in the X-Men. Well, we gotta make one. Let's make one, because there's none. So it would be nice on the flip side in Japan for them to acknowledge like everyone's like a default, like, oh shit, well maybe we could change up and have black guy as a lead or a Hispanic character, even though they're not well formed, they don't have that personal touch for them, because here in America we can see and we can experience these certain things, while over there it's harder for them to get a sense of what these cultures are actually like, and what these people actually look, feel, and taste like, and how they behave. So I think it can go kind of either way, but when it comes to representation, and if the manga is becoming more popular and anime is becoming more popular, and if it's gonna pretty much take over that medium, may not be in the movie theaters, and anime still has a broad appeal, but it's still not quite, I mean, it is mainstream, but if they're gonna take over that medium, that comic book medium, that sequential graphic art, they're going to definitely, I think, have to adapt a bit and have a little bit more broad ideas and broad range of cultures. In the same way we would try to respect them and putting them in a game or making a comic book about, their culture and a character, they might have to now start doing the same respect. And it's not just comedy. It's a serious American character. It's a serious minority character in the book that actually is going to play a vital part to the story and doesn't just live up to stereotypes.
I'm gonna tell you how I figured this out. There is some representation of black folks in the Japanese culture, but I see it in fighting games because they tried to diversify. But I gotta ask this question though, man. Like, I saw Tekken 7, and I'm like, all right, how many black characters do you see out of that whole entire roster compared to white and Asian characters? Same thing with Street Fighter. How many black characters did you see in there? Street Fighter 5 specifically, do you see represented compared to a white and Asian fighter? Yeah. And when you look at the black characters, see how they stereotype us in general. I get it. In Tekken, they got Paul as a goofy white guy, stuff like that. Okay, so I said, all right, if they want to put that argument out there, they can, But then you look at Leroy. Do all black people act like Leroy? Like, come on, man. You run around. Come on, sugar. Oh, what you in the 70s? Like, I still clown on it to this day. It's like, it kills me. I said, this is what you think of all black people? We can't be that cool, chill dude that you make the Asian people out to be, Like, why is Jin so fucking chill and calm and cool, but you got a nigga named Leroy? Come on, sugar.
A little bit over the top. And he's an old Wing Chun master, acting like a 70s blaxploitation character. Instead of saying some wise man quotes, I get what you're saying. Instead of doing some like monk inspirations and I've lived a hard life, this is not the path you want to follow. It's like, come on, sugar.
Yeah, come on, sugar. But then again, I mean, I feel like I'm contradicting myself because they gave us Raven. So Raven is dope. And Master Raven. I said, all right, cool. I give you that. Because they're cool, chill people with good movesets. But you could see where the inspiration came from. Currently, the Raven came from Blade. Then you got Master Raven, who's taken from Michonne from Walking Dead. So I said, okay, I see. So they're getting cultured. And look at their hairstyles. So I said, okay, black people, black people is on their radar. They're aware of what we look like. you know. You know, Raven looks dope as fuck. Master Raven with dreads. I said, you guys know what dreads look like. It's supposed to look dope, not goofy, you know. So they got that down right, you know. So in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, but then, you know, then with Street Fighter, you still got Balrog, like you know, was it a typical dumb black dude, something like that, who cares about fight money?
You still got Mike Tyson being represented in this fighting game.
Yeah.
And then, who else? Who was Ryu and Ken's apprentice? Sean,
but he's Brazilian though.
Yeah, he's Brazilian. Yeah, he was more level-headed.
Yeah.
Birdie, this UK rocker guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who else? I always thought Dudley was black, but he's actually Indian.
Yeah, that's what
I was surprised, but it, you know, it makes sense. He's English, kind of, you know, the England Indian connection. I'll fuck it. I'll still consider him black. Fuck it.
But I was like, like you know, coming back to it, I said, you know, I know Japanese people. They are aware of other cultures and stuff like that. It just doesn't need to be marginalized and stuff like that. They don't need to come out there and just be like, oh yeah, this is what all black people are like, you know. No, like, this is the reason why I feel like that maybe the comic book industry should go ahead and just give it, just try to give out I don't want to say give out, but say, like, you know, try to hand out and licensing it out to the manga world and see what the Japanese people do and stuff like that. Can you imagine a Blade manga? You know,
Yeah, that'd be pretty dope.
you know, which a Blade manga that eventually turns into an anime and stuff like that, well, licensed by Marvel and stuff like that. Like, fucking be dope, you know. I mean, you know, imagine like a Blade manga, you know, in the same sense of like how Dante is like, you know, from Devil May Cry and stuff like that, you know.
Vampire Hunter series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like, let's get some black folks, some mainstream and Asian cultures, because, like, off topic and stuff like that, man. But, like, you know, we still have Asian countries out there, stuff like that, you know, who still thinks of us as, you know, criminal mind hood rat dudes and stuff like that. They're up to no good.
Shit, we still got Americans.
Yeah, and you know, I can't sit there and vouch for everyone, but there's good ones out there. We're all not running around here talking about like we smoke. You can't generalize us to all look like fucking Travis Scott and who else?
Whatever.
Other stereotypical rapper that you see that's on the main street, stuff like that. Not everybody else look like fucking, like, you know, Travis Scott. Not everybody else is looking like, you know, Trippy Red or anything else and stuff like that, you know. We all don't look like that, you know. We all don't act like that, you know. Like, you got people like Jaden Smith. You got people like Kid Cudi. You got people like that, you know. You also got the nerd type. You got Childish Gambino. I think he's a perfect role model as black folks, stuff like that, you know. He's got his goofy sense, but he carries himself very well, you know. Yeah. You got black folks here in America that carry themselves very well. They don't have to be far right into the hood nature, and they got to be far left into the Uncle Tom, you know. Yeah. You know, there you got your generalization. Will Smith is a perfect like role model. You know, you've got, you know, Morgan Freeman. You've got a lot of black folks. Samuel L. Jackson, stuff like that. Yes, he got a little bit of a.
Yeah, Samuel plays a part. He plays a part.
He plays a part, but yeah. as a gentleman himself, he carries himself with class. You know.
Right. He definitely does.
But if you know, and we've seen his work in anime form in the sense of Boondocks, stuff like that. You know, but he plays a character.
Yeah, he plays a character, and all that's just part of marketing and stereotypes and making some quick bucks and thinking that, hey, I market this way, I'll get the most box office returns, whatever. And those times are gladly, they're changing. There's more variety of roles, there's more variety of storylines, there's more variety of characterizations out there that are making it more balanced. Before it was just biased and you know, a negative image. So I think that it is changing. The perception, especially with the year 2020 that we're having, I think the perception is changing. We're seeing that reflected. I mean, comic books has always been a fight to keep everything, a fight to not just have it the default white guy and then the sidekick white woman as a character. Now there's a push for it to be more of a balance, an even playing field where, okay, you introduce a new white character, they're not successful. No one remembers them. Okay, we're gonna try a new black character. All right, no one remembers them. Okay, cool. We'll keep rolling the dice. And before it was just like, oh, I don't know if I want to put a black character. I don't know. Now it's not so. Now it's not so scary to roll the dice on something like that. And I think manga is on that side. We're seeing like game developers put a little bit more effort into the character creations. I'm not sure because it was budget before polygon counts or whatever, but having a little bit more emphasis on inclusion with the character creation tools, or including more characters into the foray that aren't just are Asian or white. And so I think the tides are slowly starting to turn, and I think it could be fastened if if Japan does take over the comic book medium form. You know what I'm saying? If that is now your only source to get new printed material of Batman or new printed material Miles Morales, they're going to have to get good at drawing black people. Yeah. They're going to have to get good at drawing Middle Eastern people or Latino. Like, they're going to have to get good drawing at a lot of these things, especially if Marvel and DC are going to license them out there and expect a certain quality back. Yeah. And especially if they do believe that this is going to be the future. I mean, the kids are growing up on it. The teenagers are growing up on it. And it is, in a sense, the future. It is, in a sense, of the future. You go to Barnes & Noble. The graphic novel section has shrunk over the years. The comic book graphic novel section has shrunk. The manga section has grown. The manga section has taken 2, 3, 4, 5 different bookshelves. The American graphic novel used to be 5 bookshelves. Now they're down to 2, 1.5. You know what I'm saying? 3 if you're even lucky. And everything else is like, fuck it, buy it online. We don't have it here. But hey, get this $12.99 manga that's, cheap, fairly cheap to make, fairly cheap to sell. We make a good profit, they make a good profit, and you get a little more bang for your buck. 50 plus pages, So the things change in time, and I think those changes are slowly happening, and it'll reflect current times over there.
I tell you right now, I'll be first in line when I can see a black main character in a manga.
It might be out there already. And here's the thing. Also.
Well, mainstream. It might
mainstream.
There might be one out there, but mainstream, one that hits mainstream.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. It's out there. It's out there on the indie side. There are black creators and black artists making manga. You know what I'm saying? Will it ever get to the mainstream? We got to support it.
Well, I mean,
we got to buy it.
But what I meant though is Japan keeping up with the times and expanding out, to do it. I know just indie illustrators here in America, they'll do it. That's how Boondocks came into form. Right. But for Japan to really because we're fighting every day. It's 2020 stuff like that, but we're fighting every day to get a great balance of black culture here in America and stuff like that. And the fact of the matter is stuff. When Black Panther, and I know you were to discuss this on your podcast stuff like that, but Black Panther was a culture change. Black Panther was sought out by how we all felt like black folks should be treated and should feel like royalty. Live with poise, live with no worries. Wealth is already taken care of, Nothing to worry about, not having to worry about inequality and stuff like that. You got your own city and you're welcoming everybody else and stuff like that. And the only time you see any little hood aspects took place is when you had Michael B. Jordan come in his character and stuff like that, Yeah. But even then he handled himself with class,
right.
But
just trying to liberate
people. So it's those things and stuff like that, I know Japan is able to pull it together and stuff like that. And it's just, you know what, if they really taking elements from Western culture, because we saw what My Hero Academia has come out. If they would have sit there and says, you know what, we need to take chances like they're doing in comic books, stuff like that. You know, we need to like try to change things up a little bit, you know, because like I told you before, how many times can you transform a character here in America, you know, to be a black Superman, to be a white Superman, to be an Asian Superman, to be a same thing in the Spider-Man, you know, black, white, Asian Spider-Man, all that stuff like that. How many times can you really do that, you know? In Japan, how many times can you stay in a fucking high school or an academy, you know?
Looking like they're a 25-year-old.
Yeah.
Men and women. Grown men and women looking like, you know.
Yeah.
High school, middle school.
How many times can we see a big eye character, you know, in pigtails, in school skirt and thigh highs and low flats and shit like that, and talking in a high pitched voice and stuff like that? How many times can we have to deal with a 16, 17-year-old protagonist, you know, dealing with some bullshit demon stuff or some bullshit nonsense? Like, expand out. Let's go. Let's try something else new, you know? Like, there's other things that Japan could try out, because every mainstream manga I've seen, known to mind, like that was okay, that was something different for once, was Attack on Titans. Still, My Hero Academia still take place in the damn academy and stuff like that. But how many times can we hear about something take place in the academy? Yeah, but then you got One Punch Man, stuff like that. Wasn't in an academy, but eventually had to go to a fucking academy. You know, but it's like, how many times do we have to resort to an academy or to a school and stuff like that? You know, why can't we just do something obscure? Why can't like, you know, a character from Japan were to be like, you know what, my aspiration is to come to, I don't know, London or UK or wherever the fuck, or I don't know, in Dubai or something like that, and to be a superhero or something like that, you know, and I don't know, something, you know, something different, or have a whole on space story like Evangelion and stuff like that, but something different, you know. And you got all this robot fights and stuff like that. Yeah, robots are cool, you know, mechas are cool, you know, but let's do something different.
It might be out there, man. It might, you know, most of these things starting underground. Mm-hmm. It might just be deep buried behind those 50 volumes of Naruto, and then here's that fresh original manga of somebody who's an actual adult, living their life, struggling to pay bills. They want to move over to Shanghai, or they want to move to Australia. Yeah. And, you know, or, you know, there's content like that out there. It's just hidden deep between all the mainstream success and all the loud noise, and it's going to take some time to dig, and for that stuff to resurface, it needs the support and exposure, whether it's a indie guy, underground guy in Japan, or gal in Japan, or indie or underground guy in America. Because I mean, fame plays an important role of this, and exposure. That same manga, this underground manga that has this grown man going to Australia to live a new life. If the creator of Naruto does the exact same story and the exact same thing, it becomes a hit, because it's the creator of Naruto. You know what I'm saying? It's all about, you know, exposure, marketing, and all this and this and that. But I do feel like Japan has a bigger market and a bigger pool of things to become a success. I do feel like part of the problem here in America is that we rely so much on Marvel and DC, on these ideas and on these projects. It's harder for the indie guy, or it's harder for something from Boom Studios that's not licensed, or harder for something that's from IDW that's original, to get pushed through that wall and break through. That's why Ninja Turtles is so special. It's not Marvel, it's not DC. Came from the underground, became mainstream. It's harder for that it's harder in America for that transfer of success to come over, rather than Japan. You know, One Punch Man started as damn simplistic drawings on a, you know, it wasn't even that great. Like, the illustrations wasn't great, the story was fine. I find like something like a Demon Slayer, to reach the level of success that it has, like Every year we find some new manga.
Yeah.
We find some new story. Something's trending. You know what I'm saying? Here in America, that's not the case. It's Batman, Spider-Man, Superman. You know, every year it's just a constant cycle. Iron Man. It's the same things being recycled over and over again. You rarely get a new hit that's like, this new comic book is good. Oh shit, they're gonna pick it up for it takes years. Oh, they're getting a TV deal. Oh shit, this shit's gonna become a movie. Webtoons, we got a Netflix special coming for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, right there, right then and there. Like, you got how many viewership? Okay, cool. Webtoons, you're good. And it's like, the comic book medium has more gatekeeping. Like, it seems. Yeah. It seems like there's more barriers. It seems like there's more, damn, I gotta have how much level of success? I have to have how many years of consistency? While in Japan, I might have a little slice of life type shit. And it pops. And guess what? I got an anime coming soon. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's more room. There's less gatekeeping. It seems like there's more, like, Marvel, DC, like, no one else is getting it. You know, it's like no one gets inside from Power Rangers. Yeah. It's like that for America. Like, no one gets inside of this level of success. And I feel like that hurts. That hurts America trying to diversify their what gets told, what gets adapted, what gets showcased. And that's why I feel like on the manga side, things are a little bit more fresh. Yeah. Because there is that diversity of different titles and different genres. While here in America, like I said, how many times can you redo Superman, right? Or redo Spider-Man? Well, shit, here's this brand new fresh character that's actually pretty good and is doing something new to the table. Eyes will never be on them because there's certain levels of marketing, a certain level of eyes that have to be on them to break through to get to that plateau. So
I'm probably speaking on a complete like pure ignorance because, like I said, I'm not familiar with with all mangas out of Japan. Yeah. But there probably is something that I just spoke on already out there. I'm just not aware of it. But like you just mentioned, it just has to be brought out to the mainstream to be known and seen. Just like how it's a struggle for that to happen here in America. Sometimes you will have something that will break the ice once in a while. But last time I've heard anything like that only took place in the movie and the gaming industry, where they took chances on something and it broke ice, like new IPs, like Ghost of Tsushima is a new IP, brand new from the ground up, a hit, so it's same thing with Death Stranding, brand new IP, built from the ground up, a hit, so it's, yeah. To get a brand new IP to be recognized throughout the world and stuff like that is a hard thing to do, So like that's the reason why I feel it in the comic industry and stuff like that. But now you got these indie artists and stuff like that, dude, who's got brand new, original, fresh ideas that will never probably see the night of day, maybe 20, 40 years from now and stuff like that. It just takes a while unless it's being pushed by a production company or a studio, because I've seen it in TV shows and like cartoons and stuff like that. Is one of the things. It's like, how many times can y'all play with the same shit? Like I'm out of Nickelodeon, the only thing recognizable out of there is SpongeBob, But how many times? Like I remember back then when we were kids and stuff like that, Cartoon Network, man, there was a plethora of original stuff that was out. Powerpuff Girls, Samurai Jack, Dexter's Laboratory, Two Stupid Dogs, original, Johnny Bravo. Right? That originality now is gone. It's all reused IPs now, Very rare out here some stuff like that. Was Adventure Time was a brand new thing? That's the last time I've heard anything brand new, The
regular show, I believe, Steven Universe, there's been a few that have popped off, but I think it's safe to say that the brand new IP that becomes a success is more common and more available overseas in Japan than it is here in America. It is more possible for you to have a new IP, a new book, a new manga book, and if you have, a select readership or some publisher looks at it and says, I want to make an anime of this. Guess what? You're gonna get an anime out of it, and it's just the industry is built differently over there, and I think there's a higher chance of success if you're the little guy to kind of break into the mainstream, because I mean, if you look at the manga sales, Superman and Batman are up there. Those guys have been around for all-time sales now, by the way. All-time sales. Superman and Batman have been around since like the 1930s, 40s, damn it. We have One Piece, and we have Dragon Ball Z up there. It's the top 4 selling like comic book franchises of all time. One Piece was in the 90s, I believe, and then Dragon Ball was in the 80s. These guys had 30, 40, a 40-year head start. Yeah. And look how quickly they came up and rose to the ranks. That shit doesn't happen in American comic books. Yeah. That shit, like, there's no way something brand new like that can just pop off and you get... It just seems like, I don't know why it's more difficult over here. I'm not sure if it's because the industry is built differently. I'm not sure if the opportunities are more rare. I'm not sure if it's because certain companies are blocking that road to success from other people, from smaller guys. But over in there in Japan, it just seems like I didn't know about fucking Demon Slayer like last year. I'm not sure how new it is, but I'm pretty sure it's less than 5 years old. Shit, like name me something like that popped up over here in America, like a Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan. Like, I mean, that's like 8 years, 7 years old now, but to have a show like that and the merchandise, how you show up in Hot Topic, like, name me an American equivalent that can just less than 5-10 years old, that can end up in Hot Topic, that can end up with the full series available to buy on DVD and Blu-ray, or you can stream a full series on your favorite streaming platform. I can't name you one less than 5 to 10 years old that can just have the chance to pop off like that. It's just very, I don't know, man. Something about that Western market and that appeal. I don't know.
I mean, it I guess in a sense, I guess it just takes time, because some things could be written and drawn way before it's time and sit in the vault for a while until it get recognized. Or sometimes you see some random shit pop off. Remember when Harry Potter was a hit and all stuff like that, and it was going on for a long time, which was it was a book that was written that became a movie and all that stuff like that. And then to compete against Harry Potter, something out of nowhere called Twilight came out. You know, everybody knows Twilight now. But what the fuck was Twilight way before? Like when that shit first came out, and stuff like, what the fuck is this glittery ass vampire? You know, so it's like it's one of those things that's probably just been sitting in a vault for a while, waiting for it to be recognized and shit like that. You know, and I'm pretty sure there's something like, what was it, John Wick? I'm not familiar with John Wick. I don't know if it was an origin story or if that was actually a written original script that was written out and done very, very well. Yeah. You know, but you had that. You know, but you got another couple of movies that's done the same thing. That's been very like, I'm not even familiar. Will Smith did a superhero Hancock. You know, yeah. I don't know where the origins of that and stuff like that. But if somebody would have wore that damn outfit and stuff like that, some people recognize it. You know, but it's one of those things. It's like what? It's like you could try to do something, but it just takes a while to get recognized. You know. Far as I know, Walking Dead, what's another comic book turned into a series?
Yeah, it was. I think that probably is the last, if we're going to look at it, that probably would be the last one that really popped like that. Mm-hmm. Was it? I think Walking Dead premiered like 2009, 2010. Yeah, the comic was around 2001. Yeah. So it took like 6, 7, 8 years for it to get there.
It took Django a while for it to turn into a movie.
Yeah, I didn't even know Django was a comic book. Yeah.
But like, yeah, man, some of these things, stuff like that, something completely original. It's just waiting to. It's just sitting in the freezer, waiting to be cooked eventually, you know?
Right. But over there in Japan, that shit's popping off like popcorn, man. It's just, they just like, okay, next one. Next one. And then it's just serve it to everybody. Oh, we're not just serving it to this kitchen. We're serving it to the whole building.
Like Japanese people sitting in the conference table just drawing up random shit. They say, hey, yo, this one looks like a cell. What do you want to do with it? Oh, this is One Punch Man. Oh, cool. And this one's Mob Psycho. Okay. What do you want to do with it? I don't know. Let's just turn it to a webtoon, then turn it to a manga, and then wherever fucking happens afterwards, you know? You know, 𝐀𝐔𝐃 was one of them shits too. I like, yeah, you know what the fucking kill. That's one thing I missed about conventions is just looking at cosplays, and I like to pretend like I know each one, but I don't. You know, like I knew about Attack on Titan when I went to a day convention. I'm sitting there, saying, what the fuck is people walking around with big bulky silver shits on their damn legs and brown coats and stuff? You know, I'm thinking, what the hell is this shit? You know, and they're like, oh, it's Attack on Titan. Then I watched it and said, oh, this shit's dope. You know, same thing with 𝐀𝐔𝐃. I was like, who's this girl running around like, you know, with under boobs and shit like that, you know, like her ass cheeks all hanging out and stuff like that. So this anime must be fire, you know. And I watched it and I was like, yeah, this shit was fire, you know. And then another obscure thing that took place was My Hero Academia and stuff like that. People wearing that damn tracksuit and stuff, you know. I said, all right, I'd bite. What anime is this from, you know? And I'm like, oh, it's My Hero Academia and stuff like that. And I watched it and I was like, oh, okay, see. So sometimes I just won't go out there and discover on this shit on my own. You know, I have to go ahead and just look at everybody else and see what's up, you know.
But the cosplayers, it came to them. Yeah. Like it's almost like, you know, you made it if you see a group of cosplayers portraying your IP. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like it's almost like acceptance. Mm-hmm. Like you made it, yeah. And now we love it, and now we're gonna celebrate it by dressing as your character. You know, when you start seeing these groups of 10, 15, 20 repeatedly at these conventions, it's like the cosplayers pick. They know what's popping. Some started early, and then you see one Homestuck cosplayer, like person with the gray makeup and the horns, like fucking weird. Yeah. Okay, next convention you see 5 of them. You're like, oh shit, there's only 5 of them. All right, next convention there's 50 of them. And you kind of see naturally the growth of how big something is getting. And it's just a snowball effect to where you're like, oh, shit, like, it's really big. Like, Harley Quinn. How many Harley Quinns over the years it grew? It became a point where, like, every convention had 5 to 10 Harley Quinns. Right. When before, you see one comic accurate version of her. And then it started to go into the Arkham games, how she had the little nurse outfit. And then it got to the Suicide Squad movie. Mm-hmm. And by that time, you know what I'm saying? Like, there it was. Now you have Harleys everywhere, every different version. And that was that pop, finally, for the character, like, enter that pop stratosphere. So you can almost kind of tell. You can almost tell by how popular something is in the mainstream, by how many cosplayers cosplay that IP at your conventions on a consistent basis. You know, like you said, seeing those Attack on Titan cosplayers continually show up, whether it be was it Homestuck, whether it be, you know, anything that's like, now I'm pretty sure it's Demon Slayer. Everyone got the gis on, or Bleach. Remember, but way back in the day, everyone had those like those kimonos and the Bleach uniforms and the wigs and then slowly but surely it went away. I mean, these things come in trends, but Bleach is still selling. You know, Bleach still has merchandise, but it's like that level of acceptance. Like, it made it. It broke through, and it's like it's here to stay. Yeah. You know, even if it isn't trendy anymore, it's still here. It's still accessible. You can still go buy Bleach, even though it's not trendy. You know, Tiger Bunny and Panty, they're not trendy, but they're still out there. They're still on the internet. They still have new volumes. They still have whatever. It's pretty much like an award, like that IP made it when you see consistent group of cosplayers cosplay that IP.
Definitely, man. That's a testament to when a property stays out there for a while and it gets recognized. But like you said, man, Japan, they just pop them shits out like hotcakes and stuff, you know, and it gets out there quick. But yeah, man. Other than that, I just hope that over time, you know, with the mediums of illustrated work, comic books and manga. I mean, manga seems like, you know, like you said, it's overtaking easily the comic book industry, and there's only so much you can do as a comic book. You know, how many times can you rewrite a character? To now, they're probably going to be just stuck on media platforms, you know, whereas manga, they're going to keep on introducing us new shit from Japan, and on top, right behind mangas, webtoons, you know. So it's gonna be nice to see these evolutions of mediums and stuff like that. But I just hope that over time, you know, as we progress and stuff like that, we start seeing more diversity out in Asian cultures and stuff like that, you know, and being a lot more represented, you know, as black folks out there, you know, and seeing us not just being a sub character or a cameo character or something like that. And, you know, because not a lot of people are aware, but Japan is not, I know they're aware that a lot of black folks love their work, you know. Like that, you cannot just hide. They're just black folks just won't come to Japan to tell them, you know. Yeah. You know, but the more we have black folks who come to Japan and stuff like that, they can start seeing, you know, unless just Japanese people coming to come to America to see that black folks appreciating their work and stuff like that. Like, for example, Harada, who created Tekken, same thing as Yoshi Ono. He's able to see his fan base, American fan base, in person, to see how much he's impact here in the Western culture and stuff like that. So whenever we get to bridge the gap between two cultures, stuff like that, I can see more representation. It's just a matter of just introducing us to the culture and stuff like that. You know,
Leroy would not be a thing if Harada didn't come over here and see that firsthand. You know what I'm saying? It might not have gotten that black exploitation feel. You know, the idea might not even popped into it. He might have been a default Asian guy, and then, you know, just having that interaction and seeing that fan base actually here, you know, it opens eyes for sure. In a creative mind, it can open eyes.
And I look forward to it. I really definitely look forward to it, you know. But you know what? 2020, man, here, cheers to progression. Hopefully you look forward towards 5, 10 plus years more on the evolution of our happy mediums, such as illustrations, movies, you know, gaming, and streaming shows and whatnot.
Oh yeah, looking forward to 2021. 2020 was a record-breaking year for Kickstarter. This was the most money being spent on campaigns, backed on campaigns, and comic books projects on Kickstarter were funded never before like it was in 2020. So those fresh new ideas, those fresh new IPs, man, we gotta support it. And we got to let the word out, and then hopefully they can break that mold where that stuff that we're craving for, that we're not getting from Marvel and DC, that stuff that pops over in Japan so easily, maybe we can get a little bit of that over here if we, you know, market for them and try to get the word out about these amazing original ideas that are being funded by people and moving forward that aren't accessible and aren't available in comic book shops.
And to end things off, whenever conventions are open, or you do have a friend that's out there drawing or illustrating or is really, really good at any form of art, you make sure you take the time to see the hard work it takes to draw characters, illustrate characters, write a story. Especially whenever you're able to go to a convention. I get Spider-Man, Superman, Batman, they're all the rage, stuff like that. Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers, they're all killing it in the comic book industry right now, and so as we speak. But keep in mind that when you go to little, I guess, book readings, and whenever you go to a Barnes and Nobles or a bookstore, or whatever you go to a convention and you check out the artist alley, you make sure you stop by one of those artist alleys people to see their original work and stuff, you know, and really, really show their support and say that, like, you know, one day they can submit their legacy, and you won't, you know, before you know it, you could be the one that's in the convention or the one at the bookstore doing a book signing and meeting indie illustrators, stuff like that. You could be the one to actually witness them from the start and then blown up to the big screen, because all it takes is for somebody like a black writer, story could get picked up by Tyler Perry, a black illustrator who's actually drawing something completely original, stuff like that, get picked up by Netflix.
Right.
It's just a matter of time.
Exactly, man. Exactly. And that does it for today's episode. Thank you for lending your ears for another episode of Homeboy Talk.
It's ORRION Wayne getting ready to end things off. Like and comment, dislike if you ain't feeling the content. Download the discussion from SoundCloud. Big shout out to you for being a part of the crowd. Follow us on every popular social media platforms in the discussion below. Orion Online, offline.
And that's the bottom line, cause Homeboy Talk said so.